Isn't that awesome? It's a full moon. I caught it just in time. Okay, people, so today we're going to talk about drugs and why you really shouldn't do them. I'm serious. Okay? I'll be back. And let's record on here. No, I'm not going to record. Well, maybe I should try. I'm going to go closer to the water. Some dudes over there, Latinos, listening to music. Musica. Alright, let's enjoy the view for a little while. Oh, I'm getting a brand new iPhone. It was supposed to come today, but I didn't get it, so it's a 13. So the video and image quality will be much better. I do have a GoPro, and again, as usual, I didn't bring it. So we're going to talk about drugs today and why not to do them. Let me get past this group up here. Doing a circle. Got me going in circles. Okay, I think they're gonna land. There's water right over there. Alright. So let's talk about drugs. Okay, so because I realized in the past, I think I made 2 videos where I'd mentioned that I'd actually done ayahuasca 3 times and DMT 3 times, okay? So here's the deal though. The first time I did ayahuasca, I only did like a half of it, and it was a little thing. And it was from someone I knew. I'd known him for years, and he actually made it, okay? So the thing about it is, I really, like, the way I do stuff is I just test it out. I want to see how my body reacts to it. So like if someone, gives you a pill, just take like 10% of it or 20% if you can break it off. All right. Of course. Okay. So here's, all right. So the other thing about it is, I'd been meditating for, oh God, way more than 12 years at that point. And so very much have, I'm really good at staying grounded, okay? I don't want to say control because it's not control, it's just letting go of control. Because holding on can cause the dissonance that can cause you to go, like, wow, I have a bad trip. So I was very good at just completely letting go, going with the flow, and having a clear mind, okay? So here's the thing, I don't recommend doing that kind of stuff, especially around other people. So the other thing was, I actually did ayahuasca by myself, okay? In the DMT, I only did it with one other person in the room. And it was someone I absolutely trusted, okay? So, here's why. Okay. If that person has a demon, or a demon attachment, or entity, or whatever you want to call it, it can go into you. And this... Now, okay, when I was younger, and I remember our pastors would, tell us, like, hey, be careful who you have sex with, because you'll take on their if they got demons. And I was like, okay, whatever. I believed in that stuff, but I thought, well, that's just down the road, and that's not going to happen to me, until it did. Or at least I was attacked by a demon. So the thing about it is this: drugs and even sex, they open you up emotionally. And that's the thing, is when you're now, being open emotionally is fine, but I mean more on a spiritual level, and you're not as aware. All right, so the main reason why you don't want to do drugs is because it opens up, I don't like to use the word portal, but it opens like an entryway. That's probably what I should say. And if there's an entity in the room, or in the space, or in the person, or attached to the person you're with, that can cause a problem. And that's how all of a sudden you'll see someone like who's the nicest person in the world, and all of a sudden they radically shift, and you're like, what the hell is going on with so-and-so, right? I'm not going to say it necessarily was the drug, but I think the drug was the doorway or the gateway. Okay, so here's what I recommend. Don't do drugs. I'm not kidding. Because when you experience, I don't know if I want to use the word a demon entity, or, it's, what we call them as narcissist. When you experience a dark narcissist and you go through experiences like that, it is horrifying. It is, And it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away in 24 hours. It can stick with you for months, even longer. So if it does happen, let me know, and or go to a Buddhist temple, etc., or seek out someone who can help you with it. Okay. So to be honest with you, even getting drunk, alcohol, lots of alcohol, don't do it. Like I almost do nothing now. I don't even do pain pills. And the funny thing is, I got ran over by a car years ago. I played sports my whole life till I was about 31. Lifted weights until I got ran over the car when I was 40. I mean, heavy. So I've got a lot of injuries, and I don't touch anything. I don't even do Excedrin. I don't do Advil. I don't do nothing. I don't even do aspirin. I know I'm supposed to because of my age, because it thins the blood, you know, for blood clots. I do wine once in a while. In fact, the last time I had wine was about 3 weeks ago. I just don't do it. And when I do it, I'm only going to do about maybe I don't know, half a glass, and I might do 2 of them max. That's it. Alright, so the whole purpose of this video is to say no to drugs. Now, I remember when I was a child, teenager, even 20s, our parents and grandparents and the elders in the church, don't do drugs, it's a gateway for the devil. And I just thought, oh God, you know, I didn't really believe it. But let me tell you something, when you experience it and you see it with your own eyes, you will never do that shit again. I mean, use some common sense. The whole reason why they're trying to get you drunk, get you high, get you to slowly take this CBD pill and then just take a shot of heroin. Hey, it's no big deal. You should just try it. Is because they're trying to completely screw you over. That's why they're trying to get you inebriated, because on a sane mind, you wouldn't do that. So here's the other reason why. We are living in the end times. We are living in a very unprecedented time where things are not the same. There's more demonic activity on the planet now than ever, period. In a sentence, lying is through the roof. I've had quite a few experiences over the last few years alone. Okay, here's something I won't do, CBD. A lot of people, not a lot, a group of people, it was the Narcissist group, tried to get me to do CBD. And I know some people love it, but let me tell you something. This was not a good experience for me. One person, they gave me 3. Now I was like, well, when should I take them? Like, no, take them right now. I'm like, because I was on my way home. It was like an hour drive, about 50-minute drive. And the person gave it to me. He said, take it right now. I was like, right now, before I drive? I was like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I get about halfway home, and all of a sudden I'm swerving all over the fucking road, and I didn't know what the fuck was going on. So I called my local, I don't know what you call them, CBD store, whatever, marijuana store, whatever they're called. And they're like, how big were they? And I explained, like, holy shit, dude, no. Like, he goes, do you take them on a regular basis? I'm like, no, it was my first time. I go, did the person that gave them to you know? He's like, yeah. I go, he was the one who's really been encouraging me to take them. So here's the thing, people. I would be fucking careful. And here's another thing. There's another group of people that gave me some. And the thing is, you don't know what the fuck they're putting in there. Because when you're dealing with narcissists, they put stuff in your drink, drugs, sleeping agents, you know, and all. And those of you who have dealt with narcissists, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm telling you, I would not get inebriated. I would stay sane. I would definitely. Okay, here's another thing. Here's how it works. So they first try to get you to do something small, like me. Like I don't smoke pot. I can't fucking stand it. Everyone that I know that smokes pot, they're just the angriest people in the world. So I'll give you an example of that. I live in the Bay Area, and I live in an area, it's called Marin County, and everyone here smokes pot. Every fucking person smokes pot, okay? And in and of itself, I don't give a shit. I really don't. And especially, but something changed recently. Not recently, but a few years back. No, it was about 10 years back. I noticed something. It was an acquaintance, someone who had anxiety issues and they had anger issues, right? They were always fucking angry. And after they got to know me for a while, like, man, you are like the most relaxed person I've ever seen in my life. Like, you're just really mellow all the time. Like, yeah, well, I've done a lot of energy healing and meditation, and that's what I recommend to people, and acupuncture. And so one day this person goes, hey man, you should smoke some pot. I'm like, no, I'm not really into it. He goes, no, you really shouldn't. And they all do this. They all have to make you smoke pot. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. It's like, if you like pot, you smoke your fucking pot. I don't give a fuck. but don't push it on me. And so what happened was, one day he goes, well, I go, well, why do you want me to smoke pot so bad? He goes, well, you know, so you can mellow out, so you can relax. I'm like, I go, you mean like you? And they're like, what? I go, dude, you are like the most anxiety-ridden, angry dude on the planet. He goes, yeah, that's why I smoke pot. I'm like, how long have you been smoking it? And he goes, oh, I don't know, about 15 years, 20 years. I'm like, dude, it's not working. So the thing about that is it burns up chemicals in your brain that keep you mellow. And so this guy would only mellow out for about 30 minutes to an hour when he was high. And then he'd go back to anxiety and he'd go back to anger. And he was like, dude, you're all over the place. Well, that's what I started noticing about a lot of people. Like the area I live in is a very angry area. People are just angry here. And I couldn't figure out why. And then I started noticing, like, well, all these people smoke pot. That's the common denominator, right? So the point is this. They're going to try to get you to do one thing, and then they're going to try to get you to do another. So like with me, this group was trying to get me to do CBD, right? And then they're going to try to get you to smoke pot. Now, the next thing they'll do is they'll try to get you to do hallucinogenics like LSD or something like that. Now, how do I know this? Because that's specifically the path that they were taking me down, okay? And in the beginning, they didn't say anything about it. I found out on accident. I overheard this person talking about it. And I confronted them, like, I go, dude, you do LSD? What the fuck? And so, people, here's my overall message. If you want to be spiritual, meditate. Do long prayers where you go deep, okay? Prayer, meditation, stretching. Go to an energy healer, a good one who has good energy, okay? Because energy healers can not be good too, okay? You got to go to the good ones. So, if you want to be spiritual, you really need to meditate. That's a big part of it, okay? I do not. I'm gonna just end it with this. I do not recommend drugs at all. You know, and they call them what they call them. They call them medicine. Now they call them medicine plants or whatever. Well, that's fine. But what I'm trying to say is, let's take the marijuana thing. I just look at people and see how they are. It's like, okay, so you've been smoking pot for 15 years, and you're the most angriest person I've ever met. And you want me to smoke pot because you're saying it's going to mellow me out. Like, what? Like, what are you smoking, dude? Like, you're not making any sense. Now, mind you, this person had already told me multiple times earlier on how I was the most mellow person they'd ever met. Okay? Now, I've actually had the same experience with other people. Like, man, you're so mellow. You're so mellow. Like, dude, you're like mellow all the time. Like, it takes a lot to get you pissed off. I'm like, yeah, it does. You have to really fuck with me. And then later on, they're like, dude, you should smoke pot so you can mellow out. And I'm like, when have I not been mellow? So there's no common sense there. In fact, there never is going to be common sense with a narcissist. So I don't touch drugs because I don't want to mess with my happiness. I find meditation, deep breathing and stuff like that really makes me feel good. And I've never experienced marijuana or any drug to make me feel good. In other words, you have to see things for the way they are, not for the way they tell you they are. All right? Because my whole life, all these people have said, like, oh, I smoke pot to mellow out. And I'm like, but you're not mellow. You're angry. Like, what are you talking about? I had another person. It was actually Adam. He said, you know what's funny? He goes, recently someone told me, and I think he said it was a shaman or a monk or something. I forgot what he said it was. I don't know. Someone to do with something in the field. And he said that marijuana has an angry spirit in it. Okay? And I thought, you know what? That would make a lot of sense. So my recommendations, don't do drugs. I'm telling you, don't do any of that stuff. And don't fall for the LSD microdosing bullshit either, because it will fuck you up. I've seen these people, and they are fucking they don't make any sense. They've got problems. Don't do it. Okay, that's another example. Okay, so I've run into people who've done microdosing off and on for years. And I'm like, well, what's your purpose for doing that? They're like, well, I wanted to get rid of my anxiety or, anger issues or whatever they had. I'm like, did it work? They're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, did it work? Okay, the ultimate answer was no. Okay, so I've got another person. So this person was on this ayahuasca trip, and what I mean was they were making plans to do another one, and then 8 weeks later do another one. I'm like, well, how long have you been doing this? Like, oh, well, for so many months. I'm like, well, what's your purpose for doing this? They're like, well, I'm trying to get over my issues. Well, I had actually done a session with a person and totally grounded them, like boom, right? And they were like, what is this? I'm like, this is the healthy way to heal your energy. And so they liked it, but they never did another session, which I thought was kind of bizarre. And it was because, so I was like, well, how many times have you done it? And they said a certain number of times, and I'm like, well, did it work? Look, people, here's my point. A lot of you think, well, I'll just do it again. I'll do it again. It's like, no, at this point, you're turning it into a crutch. If you are going to do something like that, the goal is not to fucking do it every month, every week, or whatever. The goal is to do it 1 or 2 times to help you to open up and release. And then you have to do the hard work, the meditation, the consciousness work, and techniques to help you heal this stuff. If you're relying on the drugs to do the work, you completely are missing the boat. Like, that's dangerous. That's just dangerous. Period. End of sentence. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, that's, like, me personally, I'll never touch any of this stuff again. Ever. Now, the thing is, I didn't have a bad trip. I actually learned a couple things. But I realized, like, wow, okay, compared to the work that I've been doing, that's 7% of the effect. Like, it's such a minor, like, yeah, okay, well, and then here's the other thing about it. When you do it naturally, you have clarity. When you do it with drugs, it's a muddy, murky, blurry experience. It's not this clear experience, okay? So if you need something like that, okay, let's take anxiety pills. Like, I remember that when I first took anxiety pills, like, wow, I feel great. It taught my, this is my point. This is a good lesson. It taught my neurology, it taught my emotional system, my nervous system, what relaxation was. Because I had realized that after that, like, wow, I've been going 100 miles an hour since I was a little kid. I didn't know what it meant to be relaxed. But I also realized, like, man, I could get addicted to these pills really fast. So I cut them in half, and I only did it for once every 5 days or something like that. And I did it for about a month or maybe a little bit more than that. And then I was like, okay, my body's learned what this is. Now I've got to meditate and replicate that emotional experience. I've never touched anxiety pills since because I don't need to. It's like, here's a good way of understanding it. It's like I tell people, I can show you the high school I went to in Napa, California. Like, okay, so let's say without cell phones or any technology, you get in the car with me and I drive there. Like, okay. And then we drive back. They're like, okay. I go, do you think you could go there and back on your own? Like, well, no, of course not, dude. I mean, there's too many turns and I forgot. It's like, okay. So what if we do it a second time? Like, I still don't think I'd be able to find my way there and back. It's like, okay. So then I would say, how would I say this? Okay, so then I would say, let's do it a third time. And they'd be like, yeah, I would probably get pretty close, but I don't think I'd be able to get exactly there and back. I'm like, okay, so let's say we did it 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Do you think at that point you could get there and back? They're like, yeah, honestly, probably about the 5th time, I could probably go there and back, no problem. That wouldn't be a problem. I'm like, okay, that's my point. So if you do use these things, like ayahuasca and whatever, I would not recommend doing it more than 2, maybe 3 times. I wouldn't do it. And even the LSD, I would just stay the fuck away from it. I'm sorry, that's just my recommendation. I've never touched it, never done shrooms. The shrooms I'm a little more open up to. All right, even the peyote. But again, that's like a once in a lifetime trip. And I wouldn't overdo it. Here's the thing about these, when you go to these, so when you go to these groups where they have like, I don't know, 15 people or 20 or however many, I don't know, how many, 8 people, whatever, maybe more. I've seen videos of where there's like a lot of people, a lot more than that. It's playing, but my camera's not picking it up. So when you go to these groups, you're putting yourself in danger. Here's why. Because their energies, their entities are being released. And guess what? They're going to go into you. So let's talk. Okay, I can pull up 100 movies, maybe not off the top of my head. I can pull up a lot of different examples from history, from the Bible, from everything. Okay, let's take the Bible. Remember when Jesus, when those spirits, those demons were inside those people, and Jesus comes along and he's going to cast them out, and they go, no, 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 Jesus, please, please, please. Because if you do, we'll surely die and be dead forever, because they don't get to go anywhere. Once they're dead, and they know it. So Jesus was basically like, well, where do you want to go? And they're like, well, throw us into those pigs or those swine. So Jesus pulled the spirits out and threw them in the swine. And then the pigs or swine, they ran off the cliff and they fell off and smashed on the rocks below and died. All right, so here's the point. In that story, it says demons can come out of people, but then they have to look and go into another person or live being in order to exist. This is why I do not recommend. Don't do it. Don't go to those fucking groups. Some of those people have some serious fucking entity problems. Stay away. That is fucking dangerous. Alright? And here you are doing ayahuasca on top of it, and so are they, and it's opening them up, it's opening you up. Well, you're just a brand new container for that spirit to go into. Don't do it. Alright? If you're going to do something like that, I would do it on your own, alone, or with one person that you know is healthy and they're close to God. Okay? Alright, God bless you guys. Good luck. Again, meditate. That is your freaking answer, and do energy healing. God bless you.